For several months now, I've been doing personal research and study on the brain and brain chemistry and how that impacts our lives, our mental health, and those type of things. And also recently, the Lord has had me looking at rest. And last week, these two subjects crossed paths in my reading and research. And what I want to share with you is some thoughts on serotonin and Sabbath. Now, in the brain, there's all types of chemical reactions, neurotransmitters that impact our mood and our mental health and those type of things. And serotonin is one of those things. It stabilizes our mood, our feelings of well-being, our self-confidence. It has impact on the way we digest our food, our sleep, and the list goes on and on. And there's many natural ways to increase serotonin in our lives. I don't want to go in depth in that. I would like to share two of those because I believe they're pertinent to what I want to share with you. And that is, first, natural light. Natural light. We've been quarantined, we've been staying home, whatever you want to call it. I hear a lot of talk of people getting frustrated, getting depressed, getting anxious, getting cabin fever, those type of things. Science tells us that just 20 minutes a day being out in natural light has an impact, will raise and elevate our serotonin levels. So I would encourage you, don't just stay cooped up in the house. Get outside, go for a walk, sit in the front lawn, just in the sun, whatever. Get outside. The other thing that will increase our serotonin levels is rest, sleep. And it's important for us to be well rested, to be healthy physically, emotionally, mentally, and it even impacts us spiritually. And if we keep driving ourselves without replenishing our serotonin levels, without rest, proper rest, then those serotonin levels become depleted. And what happens in that situation, the body substitutes serotonin with adrenaline. Now, the problem with that is adrenaline is designed by the Lord for emergency use only. And so long-term use of adrenaline will eventually destroy our system. It has negative, drastic health risks and problems as a result. We need to rest. But before this pandemic, most of us were on our little treadmill. We were on our little hamster wheel, and we were just go, 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 go. Chasing the dream, chasing the dollar, whatever it might be. Our goals, getting our responsibilities done, getting the house clean, getting the kids ready for school, and the list goes on and on. And life can get crazy and hectic. And I believe one of the things that the Lord is saying to the church, I know He's saying it to me, is we need to learn how to rest. We need to learn to rest. And so I just want to share with you 4 biblical principles of Sabbath. Now, I don't want to get into, well, we're required by the law as Christians. Isn't that for Israel? Is this legalism? I'm not talking about a Sabbath from the standpoint of legalism or even the law. I want to focus less on the rule and more on the rhythm. Because rest is not so much about rules as it is who rules. And I believe that's important. Who is ruling our lives? And so let's just briefly look at these 4 things. Number 1, and right off the bat, I'm probably going to upset some of you. Number 1, stop. Stop. Not, well, let me finish this project first. Sabbath forces us to recognize our limitations. Some people will push the limit until they die. And all the while, in Psalm 46:10, the Lord is saying, be still and know that I am God. It is amazing to me that the God of the universe, the God of creation, longs to have a deep and intimate relationship with us. And he says, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 23, probably the most well-known psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. And then he says, he maketh me lie down. He maketh me. I wonder today, through all of this, is the Lord making some of you, some of us, to lie down, to stop, because we wouldn't do it any other way. We need to learn to stop. And in this idea of stopping, there's three things. Number one, solitude. Solitude. Many people don't like this idea of solitude. The Gospels tell us that Jesus often would rise a great time before day. He would go off into a solitary place, and there he would pray. After his disciples came back, when he sent them out, and they began to report to him all that happened in their ministering, he says, come apart into a solitary place and rest a while. Rest a while. Many of you immediately think of solitude confinement. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about solitude refinement, where the Lord wants to call you away into himself. This is a chosen separation so that we can have a refining time in our soul. It's not isolation. Isolation is what we crave when we fail to spend solitude with the Lord. And during this time of social distancing, we need to spend time with the Lord. So solitude is important. Number two, silence. Silence. Isaiah 30:15. Isaiah says, in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. Paul tells the Thessalonians to study to be quiet, to go to a quiet place. We call it a quiet time. I'm convinced the morning is the best time, the first time of your day, to find a solitary place, to get quiet before the Lord so that you can hear him. Everything else can be shut out. And number three, simplicity. This is all under stopping. Simplicity. Paul in 2 Corinthians 11 says, I fear lest somehow that as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, that you somehow would be moved from the simplicity that is in Christ. We need to learn to hit the pause button on life. Miles and miles without maintenance will leave us broke down on the side of the road. So we need to learn to stop. And then rest. Rest. Sabbath is about rest. This doesn't mean that we have to be sleeping all day long. Some of you may be doing that, and I would encourage you to stop that right now. No, this is just a time to give the mind and the body a break from the daily grind. In Genesis chapter 2, we're told that the Lord sanctified the seventh day. That means he set it apart. He set it apart. We need to learn to set aside time. I'm not going to tell you what day of the week that needs to be or anything like that. That's between you and the Lord. But you need to find that time. And we need to understand that true rest only comes from Jesus himself. In Matthew 11:28 through 30, he says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart. Ye shall find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The writer of Hebrews in chapter 4, verse 11 says, we need to labor to enter into his rest. Rest is a gift and it's an art. It's something we need to learn to do. Like Paul said, he learned to be content. Some of you are thinking, wait a minute, I don't rest. I do. Yes, and that will lead to death by doing. We need to learn to rest. Real quick, I'm going to get into this a little bit more in a video, Lord willing, next week. But I just want to share this. This is something else that the Lord's dealing with my heart. If I asked you, when does your day start? Most of you would say, well, it starts when I wake up in the morning. But when we take a biblical approach to productivity and creativity, In Genesis chapter 1, when God begins to form and create, we're told, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And the evening and the morning was the second day. The evening and the morning. In God's economy, the day starts in the evening. It starts at rest. When we rest, God works. When we work, God rests. And if we want to be productive in our work, we need to learn to rest. So I would encourage you to start thinking about how you go to bed, the atmosphere, the attitude, and the actions that are taking place when you go to sleep at night. We know that the Lord is Jehovah Rapha. Rapha, R-A-P-H-A, means healing in the Hebrew. If you add an H to the end of that Hebrew word means relax. It literally means to let go. It means to drop. And I don't know about you, but I need to learn how to let go more. I need to learn to drop what I'm doing and spend more time with the Lord. Medical science has told us for years now, there's a connection between disease and dis-ease. And in 3 John, John says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou wouldest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers." So these principles of Sabbath, number 1, stop. Number 2, rest. Number 3, delight. Delight. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, after creation, we're told that the Lord saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. It was good. Sabbath is about delighting, learning how to focus on the good. It's healthy to stop at least once a week and just focus on all that God has done with thanksgiving and with praise, a day and a time of rejoicing, just delighting in all the Lord has done. In his presence is fullness of joy. At his right hand are pleasures forevermore. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord, and he's working all things together for our good. Even the bad becomes good in his economy and in our lives. So we need to learn to delight. And number 4, lastly, we need to learn to contemplate. In Exodus chapter 31, verse 15, talking about the Sabbath, the Lord says, "It is holy unto the Lord." It's holy unto the Lord. This time that is sanctified is set apart, where we think on the Lord. All week long, we think about everything, all kinds of things. It's one of the reasons we're going. We're thinking about what are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? How are we going to be clothed? In Matthew 6, Jesus says 5 times, do not worry. We need to stop and learn to just focus on the Lord. As Paul says in Philippians, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. And interestingly, every one of those things describes who Jesus is. And Hebrews chapter 12:2 tells us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. And in Revelation chapter 22, that last book of the Bible, describing what it's going to be like with the Lord, it says, they shall see his face and his name shall be on their foreheads. This is a looking forward to that eternal refreshment that's coming. Now we need to learn this, because this time is a time of renewing the mind. It's a time of restoring the soul. It's a time of reviving the spirit. It's a time of re-offering ourselves unto the Lord. How is your serotonin? When is your Sabbath?